Yeah, a lot of news. It was easy.
Yeah.
Boatloads of news.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Got it.
All right. We are live. Welcome to the Clean Power Hour Live. I'm Tim Montague, your co-host. Today on the Clean Power Hour, the IRA was signed by President Biden. That is the Inflation Reduction Act. And so we're going to be talking about that. John Weaver has a great story in PV Magazine. We are going to be talking about low-income community solar in Norway. We're going to be talking about Norwegian solar technology being used by our friends Meyer Burger, and so much more in the energy transition news. Welcome to the show, my co-host and commercial solar guy, John Weaver.
So I apologize, Timothy, but there is so much news that we could be talking about solar power that it absolutely overwhelms me. And I could only give you like 15 links. And I know we're not going to be able to cover it all. So my apology is that I can't talk fast enough and about enough. And I can't give you 12 hours today on this podcast. So you get me for about 50 more minutes, and then it's back to work, man. So
I'll take the 50. I'll take the 50. I'm good
yes,
with
sir.
that. So
Yes,
yeah, it's
sir.
very heady days with the IRA being passed. And it's funny because I was talking to a gentleman from Ireland the other day who's now he's a clean energy entrepreneur in New York City. He's creating a platform for land development and energy development, and he was not happy about the all the IRAs that are flying around in the energy Twitter sphere right now. But say la vie, as we say. It's a good thing. And $370 billion dedicated to clean energy and climate action. And I think we should dive into your story first, John, on this topic, because you've spent so much time bringing us such good news about it. I will also recommend people check out the Volts podcast. Jesse Jenkins from Princeton was on Volts the last 2 episodes talking about this. So if you really want to get technical, check that out. Jesse Jenkins is a wonderful resource in the energy space. But John, what are some good bullet points that energy professionals and clean tech professionals should know about the IRA?
Now, a lot of this I did talk about last week because I was in the process of writing this article as we presented last week. So you guys got like 30 minutes of me running my mouth on this legislation. But at the highest level, the key things that matter for solar professionals: number one, the investment tax credit has been extended for 10 years. For projects less than a megawatt, it's 30%. The base level for projects above a megawatt, it's 30%, but you also have to meet some prevailing wage standards, which is going to drive up the price of labor on projects. We're going to have some adders for domestic content. There's also, and the domestic content can make your ITC go from 30% to 40%. There's also an adder for locating your solar project in a formal fossil fuel or coal community. Additionally, if you sold your electricity to low-income people via community solar, you can get another adder. As well, your interconnection costs for under 5 megawatts AC are now included. The tax credit, and this is really big for commercial customers, the tax credit is now transferable versus the very complex tax equity market we've been in. And it's just a few documents to transfer the tax credit to somebody. As well, this party doesn't have to be involved. They're not a partner in your project. You can just sell them your tax credit. They do have to make sure that you deliver the project. So they have some responsibility to make sure you're not just BSing a solar tax credit. But it's like I could walk up to you down the street and be like, "Hey, you want to sign a solar tax credit and pay less taxes?" And they could be like, "Yeah." And cha cha cha, here's some paperwork, and bam, it's done. So the tax credit piece, I happen to think, is going to be really important for middle-sized commercial solar people because it's just it's just going to be so nice. Batteries, you no longer have to charge your battery. Well, first off, your battery can be located anywhere. You no longer have to associate a battery with a solar project in order to get a tax credit. But another variable, you can place your battery at the solar site, and in the daytime, the battery can charge via solar and discharge it at, from 6 to 9 p.m. during the peak period. But then it can recharge overnight and discharge in the morning peak period that is developing in a lot of markets. And so your battery no longer has to be charged by solar in order to
Mhm.
get the investment tax credit. That's big time.
Yeah.
For Yeah,
Slow down. Because those are some really nice
yes,
chunks
yes,
and some nice bullets. I want to highlight some of those. I'm particularly interested in the 5 projects under 5 megawatts, interconnection costs being
yeah,
covered. That is a big deal on a solar project that is a couple megawatts. This could be $500,000. This could be $1 million, and sometimes that that interconnection cost is a deal killer. So it's great that there is a carve out, so to speak, for to supplement interconnection costs and ease that pain for developers, um, because it's a wild card. You don't know until you're doing a lot of work and going to the utility about your project and saying, okay, Mr. Utility, we want to interconnect say a 2.7 megawatt DC solar farm to your utility in this location. And they'll say, well, that's great, Mr. Developer, but we're going to charge you $750,000 in order to make that happen. And you just don't know what that fee is going to be. You have some idea if you're familiar with the jurisdiction you're working in or the geography that you're working in, but you really don't know until you get a response from the utility. So that is something that I think is a real nice cherry on top of the IRA for developers. Furthermore, I'm very interested in the storage incentives, and I have a question, and I don't expect you to know the answer, John, though. But you know,
why not?
the standalone storage ITC is great. I was just talking to an energy company that has some kind of a technology to make ice for commercial refrigeration, and then you can discharge. It's an ice battery, right? And you can discharge the ice battery at various times of day. Basically, you charge up the battery when energy is cheap, and then you discharge it when energy is expensive. But it wasn't clear if if well, do you think all these thermal batteries are going to benefit from the storage ITC?
So I'm going to open up the document right now, real fast, but I am not certain because I remember some language in the document that said it involved electricity, and thermal isn't electricity. So, energy storage. Energy storage technologies qualified. Da, da, da. So they have definitions of what energy storage is. And energy storage, general energy storage, which receives, other than property primarily used in the transportation, receives, stores, and delivers. Okay, so property which receives, stores, and delivers energy for conversion to electricity and has a nameplate capacity of not less than 5 kilowatt hours, or thermal energy storage property. This
Yeah,
is on page 98.
this guy thought it was the IRA was going to apply to his technology. It's a company called
Yeah.
Nostromo Energy. We'll be interviewing them in October. So the video won't drop until, or the podcast won't drop until November sometime. But
Thermal
Anyway,
energy storage property. So is directly connected. Okay. So in general, subject to clause, blah, 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 blah. In general, is directly connected to a heating, ventilation, or air conditioning system, removes heat from or adds heat to a storage medium for subsequent usage, and provides energy for the heating and cooling of the interior of a residential or commercial building. Exclusion: swimming pools. uh, Building heat and power system property, building or structural components. So I don't know exactly what building heat and power system property is. Maybe that's just straight up HVAC, but then the building itself. So I would argue yes until the IRS tells me no. With because I
yeah,
know what those thermal people do. They take electricity during the daytime when it's cheap, and they'll like fill up a pool and make it cold, or they'll make ice out of the electricity, and then later they'll take cold air across that ice, and
yep,
then or air across that ice, and then cool off the building.
yep,
That sounds exactly like removes heat from or adds heat to a
yeah,
storage medium for subsequent use,
yeah. And
provides energy.
I think that's what they're doing with
Yeah.
their first project. These guys have a project, Nostromo Energy. They have a project in Beverly Hills at the Beverly Hills
Mhm.
Hilton. Just Google that and you'll find the story about that. I'm not going to put it on screen, but anyway, I also want to talk about, I mean, we have so much other news. We're not going to spend the, 2/3 of the episode like we did last week on the IRA. Check out our last episode. Check out all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com. Give us a rating and review on Apple and Spotify, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're now doing these lives via Zoom and broadcasting live to YouTube every Thursday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 Central, 10 a.m. Mountain. So check us out and give us a rating and a review. We are also looking for corporate sponsors. I've officially launched a campaign. And so just reach out to me, cleanpowerhour@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send you our promo material. So, John, the other thing that I'm really pumped about is training and professionals. Right, this requires prevailing wages on megawatt scale projects, which is great. We want living wages for all of our workers in the clean energy industry, right? And but it also requires apprenticeship programs
Yes.
and a certain ratio of apprentices to experienced workers. And that is vital because we want to incentivize all of these EPCs and installers to bring apprentices into the business, because we truly need tens and hundreds of thousands of new workers to come into clean tech. So it's I think this is very, very important.
I you know, I'm very big on people getting a good wage. I grew up on welfare. My mom, she was very poor. We were very poor when we grew up, and I literally ate government cheese. And I see families living off 30,000 bucks a year in the United States, and that's hard. And then I see people climbing on roofs for 40, 45 grand, and people installing billion-dollar utility scale projects making 48. And you know, if we're gonna talk good crap, if we're gonna go out and be like, no, the solar industry is good for America, we need to feed our people, and we need to feed them right. And they need to be able to make a career where they can go home and relax and take care of their kids, take care of their family. And so I know that some people are going to get mad, and the biggest players are going to be like, "Oh, our costs have gone up." But you know what? Labor labor is what? 8 cents, 10 cents out of that dollar, 6 cents. Now it's going to go up to 3 cents more. So projects are going to increase in price on the utility scale 3 to 5%. Done. Get over it. This is
Well, they
this is
just got 4% more with the ITC, right? The ITC retroactive to 30%, plus all the incentives for equipment. And I don't think you got there, but there's some cash incentives, right, on to incentivize US made equipment like
10%.
inverters, panels, racking,
10%.
10%.
10% ITC adder. Your ITC can go from
Oh,
30 to 40.
but is it just the ITC adder or are there additional cash
Oh, so
incentives?
the cash incentives go to the manufacturers. So the manufacturers are being paid to bring their production to the US.
I
So like
see.
for instance, yeah, so like Next Tracker. So for doing the long piece of metal, they get paid like $2.80 per kilogram. I don't know the exact numbers. For a solar panel, you get cash, you get a tax credit for polysilicon, like $3 a kilogram. You get a cash for like $12 per square meter of wafers. You get like 3 cents a watt for cells. You get
Yeah.
7 cents a watt for modules. So the manufacturers are getting incentivized to bring manufacturing to the US. And then the installation company, if you use, well, first off, you have to get the adder, you have to use 100% of your project has to have American steel or iron. And then the manufactured goods have to be roughly 40%. So if your module is US manufactured, you're probably going to be at 40% because the rest of the switch gear, the inverters, everything else will be a little bit lesser. So yeah, this is Canary Media covering it, and I cover it a tiny bit, but this is
Yeah.
big. And you know what? Our very next story after this is going to be talking that we've already got fruits of this document already happening. Uh, One of
So
the
I have
largest
on screen the
developers.
story from Canary Media from Jeff St. John.
Yep.
Check out canarymedia.com. Climate law may revolutionize U.S. clean tech manufacturing. Here's how. And, you know, manufacturing was a stalwart of the middle class in the United States starting in the 1920s. Starting with the automobile industry, for example, it really made it possible for everyday men and women with a high school education to achieve middle classdom in the US. But, in the last 30 years, we've shipped all our manufacturing to Mexico, South America, and Asia. And as a result, we have this thing called the Rust Belt in the Midwest. It's a huge swath of what was just tons and tons and tons of factories making the goods, not only cars, but washing machines and dishwashers. And it's really hurt the middle class in the United States. And so this is a major initiative to bring manufacturing back to the US. We're going to be making batteries. We're going to be making these energy storage devices and systems, making solar equipment, of course, making wind turbines. And it's such a win-win.
I agree with it. And wind turbine components get incentives, batteries. There's actually a little bit of a rumble, and I'm half upset by it, but half okay with it about EVs. So the EV tax credit actually has caused an issue. So the first off, the old EV tax credit is dead. No longer can you just buy a random EV and get a tax credit. The new EV tax credit requires a lot of local content. And some of the folks I've been reading say that there's actually a limited number of EVs that can get that tax credit. And because there's, maybe Tesla, because they actually manufacture the batteries in Texas and other places, but even not all of their stuff is manufactured US. They get cells from Catel, CATL,
Yeah.
that are coming from China. They get cells from Panasonic that might be coming from Japan. So the EV tax credit might not work for the next year or two
Right.
for a whole bunch of people until these factories start spinning up. However, EVs are sold out across the board until the end of 2022 or into 23. And so, maybe there's a whole bunch of people who don't care, who are just like, I need to buy an EV because the price of gas is $5. Or, well, that's not $5. Now it's gaining on 350, 375. But,
Yeah, it's finally coming
you
down a
know,
little bit now.
yeah,
Um,
so I don't know how to fully react to the EV tax credit challenge. It is an issue, but it'll come through. But with that, build the factories, man. we're gonna get some factories. There's gonna be few 100,000 jobs in factories specifically from this bill, I think, and
Yeah, I
that's
love
pretty cool.
this. I love this line from Jeff St. John's story. That core program is called the 45X Advanced Manufacturing Production Credit. After the section of the tax code, it will alter. According to Congressional Joint Committee on Taxation, it will direct roughly $30 billion over the next 10 years to support the production of components of solar panels, wind turbines, inverters, and batteries for electric vehicles and the power grid, as well as to promote mining and refining of critical minerals that go into these products. We have to onshore the clean energy infrastructure, not just the jobs that you and I have, but the stuff that actually goes into these projects. We need it made in America. It's so good for the economy and it's good for American workers. And I don't care your political stripe. This is going to be good for Americans. So good for Americans. And I think it's also a national security issue, right? As I've said many times on the show, because China is just kicking our butt on the manufacturing side, and it's high time that we raise our game and bring those jobs to the U.S. It's just not cool that everything is made in Southeast Asia. I have nothing against Southeast Asia and China. I spent a wonderful 6 months in Southeast Asia when I was 21 years old, and can't wait to go back. But we need to bring those jobs home. So what else? Let's wrap up the next couple of minutes on the IRA. Is there anything that we haven't drilled down on that you want to highlight?
Residential tax credits for about $4,000 for a new electric panel. I'm a big fan of cool electric panels and energy management, and so I see SPAN. I want
Smart
to see
panels.
SPAN.
We all
Smart
should have a
panels.
smart panel in our garage.
Heck yeah,
Um,
heck yeah.
and that will more easily accommodate, for example, vehicle to grid.
Yes.
I just had a company on the show called Gizmo Power. They make a portable solar carport that actually comes on wheels, on casters. And
Wow.
the idea is that it will be utilized by renters and people that don't own their home, and then they can take it with them when they move from place to place. And what it's designed to do is plug into a 240 volt outlet, like your dryer outlet or like your EV charging outlet, and juice your house or parts thereof. But the devil is in the details on.
That sounds scary as hell.
Yeah, it's a thing. There's 3 actual installations of this product. They will be at RE Plus, as will I, and I think you will be, John. So check us out on the show floor at RE Plus coming up in September 19th to 22nd in Anaheim. And we will be in the media booth with Nico Johnson of Suncast.
Nico.
Broadcasting live from the show floor there, the largest clean energy trade show and conference in North America. It's going to be wonderful to be back at RE Plus, formerly known as SPI. So you were saying the IRA includes incentives for consumers to upgrade their panel, right?
Up to $4,000, I believe. Yeah,
that can be prohibitive, right? And there's lots of details when you go solar. If you only have 100 amp service, for example, you may need to upgrade to 200 amp service, and so this will help offset that cost.
Yep.
All right. Well, should we
see after that heat pumps? And then there's so much. I mean, we could talk about this for a whole nother show and annoy the heck out of our people. You know what? These people would love it, Tim, because this is what they do. We do have to talk about other stuff, but this is the best topic that we could be talking about. Really, though, Tim, I would say this to end the IRA talk: people who are in the solar industry, do your damnedest to stay above water, to keep working, and just and be persistent. Because if you're competent and you're working hard and you know your stuff, we're going to have a rising tide, man. The price of electricity, unfortunately, is going up whack. New Hampshire just put out a ruling that the price of electricity generation in the state, Tim, it's going up 113%. The price of electricity generation. It's estimated that the average residential bill will go up by 55%. So, my residential company, Whaling City Solar, we're not advertising. We don't do outbound calls. We've signed 10 projects in the past 3 months with just nothing. We got one guy running it. We're trying to expand a little bit right now, but it's just the calls are coming, man. People are seeing their bills pop. We have an article on the document where in the UK, and I know this is not the US, the rules are different in Europe with this Russian war going on, but the average payback for a residential system in the UK has gone from 16 years to 4. The United States is not going to stop exporting natural gas, which means our gas prices, which drive the cost of electricity, are going up. Right now, the price of gas is getting close to $10 per MBTU. And for the last decade and a half, it's been 3. The price of gas has more than tripled. This is natural gas, not oil. And this is because we are now exporting it to the globe and people will pay us for it. We're crossing precipices that will change the fundamentals of our industry. We're going to move from being this solar coaster where we're dependent upon the man and the local laws to the point where people are going to be like, why haven't you gone solar? Call this dude, because right now you're paying, instead of paying $100, you're going to start paying 150, then 170, then 200. The world is changing for the industry. Keep your head up, keep pushing hard, keep closing your deals, be honest, be competent, and business is gonna start to flow if you exist. So good luck to everybody in the industry. Keep working hard, folks.
I want to go to a story about coal to solar in Hawaii, John.
Yeah.
Another story from Canary Media. This story is by Julian Spector about a solar and storage facility that has finally come online. It's been a long time in the coming. This is on the island of Oahu. The project is called Mililani Solar 1. It is a 39 megawatt solar power plant paired with a 156 megawatt hour battery. The other cool thing about this project is that there's an AES coal power plant that's shutting down by September 1, which is part of Hawaii's plan to go clean, right? To stop these very polluting technologies. The story highlights that Hawaii used to get 1/3 of its oil from Russia, and they do have a lot of oil burning power plants in Hawaii, which is why grid power is so expensive there, right? They're boating in on tankers all this oil. 1/3 of it was coming from Russia. Now they've stopped buying the Russian oil because of the war, which is the right thing to do, but that makes the oil more expensive. And so electricity prices have been going up in Hawaii. They've been going up everywhere in the United States. So anyway, this is a lovely project. Great story, Canary Media. It'll be in the show notes, so check that out. And thank you, Julian Spector, for highlighting Mililani Solar 1 on the island of Oahu, aka Honolulu. I've never been to Honolulu. I look forward to visiting someday.
So I learned something interesting reading about this power plant and what's happening there. So I thought that oil was massively dirty. I just assumed it was. It's very expensive. Like the coal there is like 8 cents per kilowatt hour. From oil, it's like 30, dude. Like that's terrible. But oil actually, from an emissions standpoint, I don't know about other pollutants, but oil is slightly cleaner than coal. So from an emissions standpoint, it's not really hurting us. Maybe from pollutants, other pollutants that hurt the local population versus the global, it's bad. I don't know it well enough. But, other than the cost being through the roof, which sucks for Hawaii, it's not horrible. It's just like crap. It's like, dang it. And, the solar industry has had some slowdowns with COVID, with supply chains. And So a couple of companies have even canceled projects in Hawaii because of the cost increases, because they bid so aggressively that now it's challenging to meet those contractual requirements, which is tough, which is rough. So,
Yeah, apparently
but
Hawaii passed clean energy legislation. This is their what I would call their RPS, renewable portfolio standard, to go 100% clean power. I don't know by what date, but they passed it in 2015, and that's why these fossil plants are shutting down. Just like here in Illinois, we have the same thing. We have coal to solar. Vistra Energy has a fleet of coal plants that are being converted to solar and batteries. Vistra is already one of the largest, if not the largest, owner of batteries in the country. And so they're a great example of the transition, of the energy transition embodied. These utilities are getting in the clean energy transition because it pays. They can more cheaply, more profitably produce solar, wind, and battery storage energy than they can fossil energy. And yes, it does take both a carrot and a stick, and that is what we call good government. It's all about carrots and sticks.
I like what Hawaii's doing. I think it's 2040 that they're going 100% clean. But I've read some stuff that says effectively, with all the residential and commercial rooftop solar, sometime in the early 2030s, they might be net 100% with still backup from fossils. But but they already have like certain islands that might hit it even sooner, because each island has its own little process. So it's cool to watch the Hawaiian game. They were the first one to have, I think, a peaker solar plus storage peaker plant, and it signed a deal at like 12 cents per kilowatt hour to offset a gas peaker, and it's a tiny microcosm of a market of everything else, but it's just kind of neat watching Hawaii figure it out, because the rest of us are learning from Hawaii, and so
Yeah.
it's neat.
The other cool thing about this project is it's using Wärtsilä's batteries. And there's a great episode of Suncast, Nico Johnson's podcast with Andy Tang. It's episode 505, the most recent episode of Suncast. Go to mysuncast.com. And Andy Tang is the vice president of energy storage and optimization for Wärtsilä. So it's good to see other companies besides Tesla in the big storage game getting in the news, right? We've covered so many grid scale storage projects on the show, and probably 80 to 90% of them have been Tesla projects heretofore, but Wärtsilä is in the game here. So, and Andy has an amazing story to tell, just a great story. So check that out. All right. I'll let you pick the next story, John. What else should we talk about?
I would like to talk about the Meyer Burger story, which is next, and then it leads to two other stories right behind it. This
Okay,
is the
wonderful.
first hardware announcement of manufacturing as a result of the IRA being signed. And I think Joe signed it on Tuesday, and it's now Thursday. And this company's a local hometown group for you, right? D.E. Shaw, like they're from Indiana or Illinois?
I don't know where D.E. Shaw's clean energy headquarters is. They're headquartered in New York City. The founder is an alum of the University of Illinois.
There we go.
And so he did spend time. He's a computer scientist by training, and then he became a hedge fund manager, which is not uncommon. Computer scientists make great hedge fund. What are they called? They're called quants.
Yep.
Yeah, because
quantitative analysts.
It's all about crunching numbers and making software that makes good predictions, basically. But I'm going to put this on screen. This is a story from PV Magazine by Max Hall, August 18th. Current story. Meyer Burger ramps. Hold on, I got to move this bar. Meyer Burger ramps up solar panel plans. And this is that they're planning to do manufacturing in the US, right?
So Meyer Burger already had plans pending the signing of the IRA
Yeah.
to do a 500 megawatt per year manufacturing line in Arizona. And the signature occurred, so now they're moving forward. Uh, but now they just signed a deal with one of the largest commercial developers in the US to buy 3.75 gigawatts of modules from 2024 to 2029 with and so first off, at first I was like, "Oh, we just lost access to Meyer Burger. They're sold out. They're sold out for a decade, forever." And I was mad. But then I read that Meyer Burger is going to expand their manufacturing base by adding a 1 gigawatt per year utilities module manufacturing line. And that is so awesome. So we have immediate benefit coming to the state of Arizona for manufacturing solar panels as a result of the IRA in the form of a 1 megawatt manufacturing line. And that's going to be a few hundred jobs. It's not a huge number. Manufacturing is very
I mean, a
automated.
gigawatt?
A gigawatt, yeah. So
Yeah,
a gigawatt's going to be
you said a 1 megawatt. Like what?
yeah. There's so much going on in my head, Tim. It's hard to keep up with all the world right now. It's almost overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a
but
big order. DE Shaw has placed an order for 3.75 gigawatts of Meyer Burger's solar panels from 2024 to 2029. I'm a little confused about that because I think of Meyer Burger targeting the residential market first, but DE Shaw is clearly a utility scale
yes,
developer. So maybe it's a both end that
yeah,
they'll be launching their
yes.
commercial products too.
And they've been talking about this. This is their utility project. This is separate from their commercial product. So they're going to have 3 to 4 separate lines coming to the U.S. eventually. They'll have their residential solar tile. They'll have their residential panel. They'll have their commercial panel, and then their utility. Now, I don't know how they're going to chop them up and do them. I don't know what that 500 megawatt line is. And as well, they're going to have a glass panel. They're going to have a backsheet panel. They're going to have so they're, these guys got to figure it out. It's hard to do all this stuff. They know what's going on, but this is a unique line. It's going to be utility scale module. I've spoken with the gentleman who runs the USA arm. Maybe we should get him on a show eventually. He used to work for SunPower or Solar World back in the day. That's where he met Meyer Burger, because
Yeah.
Meyer Burger supplied all the mono PERC hardware for Solar World. That's where it first hit the market. And so I'm a
We did
Meyer
have him
Burger
on the
fan.
show.
Well, we had the boss. Did we also have him too?
Yeah, they were both there.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we should time to get him back.
What's his name though? Remind me of his name.
Is it Arlen? Arlie?
Yeah,
Starts with the letter A. I'm gonna have to, look it up because
I think
got
it's
so many
Arlen.
names. Arlen, yes. A-R.
Yeah, Gunter Erfurt and Arlen. I can't remember what
Arlen.
episode that was. That's one of our more popular episodes though on our YouTube channel. Check it out.
Artis. It's Artis. A-R-D-E-S. Artis Johnson.
Artists. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Artis Johnson.
So you have a related story. Meyer Burger sources European-made wafers from Norwegian crystals. We like to report on what's going on in Norway. They are a bellwether in the clean energy transition. And, REC has roots in Norway. But in this case, there's a company called Norwegian Crystals that is in talks to sell their monocrystalline silicon products to Meyer Burger.
I'm in talks. Signature made. They've already signed. They're going to be Meyer Burger's going to be buying Norwegian crystals. And the coolest thing I saw from the article, 99% hydro, 1% wind. Hydro powered solar, dude. That's awesome. That's so cool. Hydro powered solar. So that excites me.
And this story is from PB Tech, Jules Scully. I agree. That is key, that the crystalline ingots are made with hydropower.
Yeah. It's gonna be some of the
story about hydropower
panels.
also, John, that the drought, the US drought is impacting hydropower here in the US, which is a bummer.
Yeah. It sucks. It's rough.
Climate change is setting in in earnest. And I don't know if we'll do that story next, but let's keep going. This is we got another 15 minutes and
So,
what do you
more
got story?
IRA benefit.
Yeah, the Hanwha
Hanwha,
story.
they're searching for a 9 gigawatt a year vertically integrated facility. So they're going to buy polysilicon from their Moses Lake facility in Washington State, which is hydro. Then they're going to bring it down to uh, Texas, Georgia, or South Carolina, and they're just chasing a facility, and it's going to be a 9 gigawatt facility, which will do wafers, cells, module assembly, and that's the whole machine. And it's going to be a couple thousand employees. They're going to be sourcing their glass from a Canadian company. So we're going to have almost a full North American supply chain coming for Qcell for 9 gigs a year. Now, in one of the documents, they noted that it was utility scale product. So I suspect that these are going to be panels that you and I do for our bigger projects. They're going to keep expanding their commercial and residential sized facility that's in Georgia. And right now that facility is 1.4 gigs. They're going to add, I believe, 1.7. I reference it near the bottom of this article. And it's just 9 gigs, dude. That we're going to have one of the world's largest integrated facilities. Like in China, there's a few that are 10. There's one that's 50, which is just, blows everybody out of the water.
Mm.
But this is going to be one of the world's largest fully vertically integrated solar manufacturing facilities globally. And that's pretty sweet. Pretty cool. They're not done with it. They haven't finalized a choice. The way these manufacturers do, they go to the different jurisdictions and then they argue and they say, hey, Georgia's giving us this. Well, South Carolina's giving us this. Well, Texas is doing this. Who's who's going to win? Who's going to give us the best financial model? And
Yeah.
that's what's going on right now. So it's just cool to see this. So much going on.
Qcells makes really great solar panels. They're a preferred product for EDPR, the company that I do solar project development for. We use their 585 watt bifacial module in all of our ground mount and many of our rooftop projects as well now. And they have a factory already in Georgia. So you can buy American made Qcell panels. Of course, we're also importing panels from other places. Qcells is a Korean company. They also are vertically integrating. They have a development team. They're doing large scale project development and of course now soup to nuts solar panel manufacturing. So very interesting company. My colleagues that used to work at Baywa Re, who went over to Qcells, really like the company. They say it's a very employee friendly culture. So kudos to Qcells. And eventually some of these companies, I mean, SunPower is the shining, or it was the shining star example, right, of an American born and bred solar panel manufacturer. We also have First Solar making solar panels. We call those
I'm waiting for an
SIGs.
announcement. What's going on with First Solar? Are they going to do something more? I mean,
Well, First Solar, I think,
thin film.
is they've I've just seen stories that they are planning to expand their Ohio facility, but I don't know. I haven't seen any stories lately, but I'm sure if they haven't made official announcements, it's only a matter of weeks or months, right, before that happens because of the IRA.
Yeah, they got to be doing something additional. I mean, they have made a few announcements of expansions recently, but the IRA has a tax credit and it explicitly notes thin film for First Solar. Like there's a line for it just for thin film. So they're going to be getting
Yeah.
some support too, and they're already cheap. I mean, First Solar is constantly sold out. If anything, First Solar's biggest issue is going to be where to get the cash to scale and how to get that cash at a good price so that it doesn't screw up their finance. So I hope to hear more from First Solar, and the more First Solar gets manufactured in Ohio, the better that state is gonna gain from some manufacturing. The Rust Belt's gonna turn into the Solar Belt, and and I think that's pretty cool. So go First Solar. Let's go Ohio.
There's two stories I want to make sure we get to. One is the Whaling
Yeah.
City story and also the Department of Energy and Illinois. But do you want to do the Whaling City story?
Yeah, it's just this is my project of the week. Um, the residential company is growing really nice. Adam Gent, he runs the Resi program at Whaling City, and he signed $500,000 of projects while being a stay-at-home dad, and he's going from site to site building right now. We are actually working on getting a little bit of finance so that we can afford more hardware at the time. Yeah, so this is his proposal. Keep scrolling down though. We get to see real images.
That looks
But it's
like
just
an Aurora. I'm just
yes,
curious.
sir.
Are you using Aurora?
Yes, sir. We use Aurora for our profiles
Yeah.
for our outbound. Yep. Yeah.
So
So
you're
he's
you're referring to these photos here?
yeah. This is the actual install. So we got some
Oh, cool.
Solaria plus Iron Ridge plus Solar Edge for this installation,
Yeah.
and we
So
just finished this one last week.
Solaria is a very nice black on black,
Yeah.
very popular in the residential market, solar panel. And then you referenced Iron Ridge. That's the racking.
Yep.
Um, 33 to 33-degree tilt there.
Yep.
I need one of those. I don't have a digital tilt meter. I would like to put one of those in my sailboat, but
Oh,
there's a nice
nice.
close up of the racking. Iron Ridge is, of course, a major, if not the number one residential racking company. I think it might be their number one. It's a very popular racking company for.
Them and Unirac back and forth. I don't know
Okay,
who number one, number two is, but
yeah,
that's for rail. That's number one, number two. That foot right there. That's a Uh, I know. I've goodness. I was just staring. It could be an Iron Ridge.
quick mount maybe.
Yeah, a quick mount. That's what I was looking for. That's a quick mount. That's a quick mount.
I thought it looked familiar.
Yeah. So quick mount's great. We really like quick. And this is our. Oh, so here we can look it up. Okay. Here's our bill of materials. So we got some 400 watt Solaria. We got Solar Edge optimizers. Um, Here's our racking. So where's our combiner enclosure, bonded splice?
One of the
Where's
things
our
that's nice
flash plate?
about Solar Edge is that's the inverter manufacturer in this case. Solar Edge is an Israeli company, but very bleeding edge technology. They have a great monitoring system. It's very
Yeah,
consumer friendly. They have a great app for your smartphone, and so you can actually see in real time what's happening and if there's panels or other issues. It's great for troubleshooting your solar project and knowing what's going on also. Um, so
yep.
that's very
So this is
cool.
my project of the week.
Very
We're
nice.
looking for some finance for the company, for the Resi company. I'm reaching out to our partners right now. We're trying to get about 400 grand of rolling credit line so we can start buying more hardware. Because right now we're bootstrapping each project, and we need to speed up our game because our inbounds are just going through the roof, man. Um, and it's price of electricity in Southeast Mass is like 25 cents per kilowatt hour. So we gotta we're trying to step our game up. Like literally this morning, we brought on an engineer to give Adam operations support. So the Resi game is going to grow for Whaling City Solar. Real excited.
Excellent. Well, I have a story from Energy News Network. The headline is Department of Energy looks to Illinois to lead on low income community community solar story by Carrie Liderson. Thank you, Carrie. Wonderful journalist for Energy News Network. I'm going to put this on screen. We've had a low income community solar program in Illinois since 2017 with FEJA, Future Energy Jobs Act. Now we have an expanded version of that under CEJA, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. And the DOE is piloting a program in a handful of states, including Illinois. I want to find that list here. Illinois, New Jersey. Give me a second. What they're doing is they are working with other energy programs. There's a program called LIHEAP, which is a program to help low-income residents afford their energy bill, right? If you're struggling economically for whatever reason, your $100 or $150 energy bill can be a major impediment. And some people will go without heat or cooling in extreme temperatures because they cannot afford their power bill, right? And so LIHEAP is very important, bringing affordable clean energy to low-income residents and communities. So now the DOE is partnering up to make it as easy as possible for these same residents to benefit from the low-income community solar program. That program is known as Solar for All in Illinois. So it's a parallel universe to Illinois Shines or the adjustable block program. So it has specific carve-outs. Oh, here's the list. I finally found it. New York, New Jersey, and New Mexico are the other states where the DOE is piloting this program. So if you're if you're working with low-income communities and around energy and energy efficiency, look to these states that are the bellwether states. I mean, I like to say that New York is one of the best bellwether states, but now Illinois is in that pack, right? You've got New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Illinois, California, Hawaii. We are the thought leaders, so to speak, in the clean energy transition. And it's so important that it is an equitable transition, right? Historically, solar is expensive. And so it was only affordable by higher middle class and upper class Americans, right? And we want it to be accessible by everybody. That is only right and just. And so that is a thrust of most of these clean energy programs around the country. I don't know in Massachusetts, John, if you are familiar with the low income incentives at all, but Solar for All in Illinois is a great program. We're almost out of time, but any comments about low income?
In the IRA, if you sell your electricity from your solar plant via a community solar low income program, you get an extra 10% tax credit.
Yeah. So you could double your standard ITC from 30 to 60%. If you are bringing your project to low income communities and using American made products. So with that, I want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. John Weaver, commercial solar guy. How can our listeners reach you?
Commercialsolarguy.com is our website. We have a contact us page, and then of course LinkedIn, Twitter, and smoke signals. We do accept smoke signals.
And you can find all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com. Click on the YouTube icon, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm doing that right now on the screen share. Here's our YouTube channel, and where we're broadcasting live every Thursday and then bringing you weekly interviews, which drop on Tuesdays. You see Michael Burrs of NZinc here talking about his very innovative no thermal runaway zinc technology for transportation and stationary storage, technology that the military glommed onto very early for submarine applications. Developers like Noble Chang, technologists like Sharat Singh of Quadrical. So every week we're bringing you an interview with an executive from a clean tech company, and then we do the news roundup every Thursday. So check us out, give us a rating and a review, and reach out to me about corporate sponsorships. We want to partner with manufacturers and service providers that are supporting the clean energy transition. Here at the Clean Power Hour, we are speeding the clean energy transition. With that, I want to say thank you, John, and we'll see you next week. Let's grow solar.